everyone, and welcome to Vibrant Living. I'm Dr. Lisa. Today's show is dedicated to nutrition and achieving increased longevity and vitality through a healthy lifestyle. Now is the time to live your amazing, vibrant life. We will explore some key, up-to-date topics that are sure to inform, inspire, and motivate you to reach your peak performance, your life performance, creating a healthier you. My guest today is Doug Caporrino. He has worked with many high-profile people and celebrities and is responsible for many of Hollywood's fittest and soon-to-be American Idol judges. Doug draws not only on his great academic background as a nutritionist and biochemist, but also his numerous true life experiences to communicate his message and purpose. From a corporate standpoint, Doug has worked with such clients as Johnson & Johnson, Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, and Willis Insurance to help bring wellness into the office place. We are so very fortunate to have him here with us today. Welcome, Doug. I'm so glad that you're here with us today.
Dr. Lisa, I'm so excited and ecstatic to be on the show. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here again. So we're going to touch on a few key topics that are kind of, I don't want to say trendy right now, but coconut oil is one of them.
Okay.
It's one of the most versatile dietary oils in the world, correct? And has a lot of different uses and different ways that people can incorporate it into a lifestyle. Could you expound on that a little bit for our audience?
Sure. Well, actually, it's one of the most stable oils that we could possibly use in today's society. And why is that a good thing? It's a good thing because when you take a look at regular cooking oils, i.e. olive oil, soy oil, canola oil, corn oil, all of these different oils that people have been using for years to cook with, and unbeknownst to us, that when you cook with these oils and you heat them, all of a sudden they become rancid. And why is that? Because it changes the chemical makeup of the oil itself at high heats. The fortunate thing is that with coconut oil, it does not break down. So that's why I say it's a very stable oil, and it's really, really great for cooking. Now, immediately the question I always get from clients and from people when I'm out doing talks is, well, I don't want my food to taste like coconut, so what do we do?
Right.
And it really doesn't have a taste. That's the glorious thing about it, is that you can cook with it and it does not leach any kind of a coconut taste or flavor or anything into your food. So it's really a wonderful thing to cook with. Now, that's just cooking. Forget about the other different types of things that it can do for you as well. It's fabulous for your skin. It's great for your hair. When you take a look at the Polynesian society, they've been using it for literally hundreds of years to do everything from skin care to health care to medicinal purposes. The skin of the coconut itself is fabulous for somebody if they get any kind of burns or abrasions. You can actually just put a coat of the skin over the abrasion, over the cut, and actually you'll start to see it start to heal literally within 24 hours. And that's all because of the high nutrients and high concentration of enzymes that are in the coconut itself.
Oh, that is really interesting. My daughters use the coconut oil on their face before they go to bed.
Okay.
So it adds a nice glistening glow, but yet it's nice and smooth and keeps them hydrated too. So that's really great. So how is the coconut oil actually produced? Coconut is shredded, is it fermented? Do you know?
Well, the nice thing about it is that it's all natural. That's the wonderful thing about it. All you have to do is press it and you get the oil from it.
Okay.
Now, the flip side to that is that coconut, because it has so many great uses, you also have something called coconut water, which I'm sure you're familiar with as well.
We're going to lead into that also.
Right, okay, so we'll get to that in a moment, but the oil itself, the wonderful thing about it is that all it has to do is be cold pressed, meaning that there's no heating, no anything involved, and you press the meat of the coconut and voila, you get oil. And that oil is in its natural state, natural base, so it's really easy for the body to assimilate. If you're taking it internally, it's really easy to cook with because, again, it's a stable oil. It does not break down at high heat, and it's easy because it actually melts and absorbs into your skin very easily if you're using it as a topical.
Okay, so like if someone were to use butter, you know, either in their cooking, they could use the coconut oil instead of butter.
Absolutely. I mean, right now, the big phase is coconut oil and avocado oil, too, by the way.
Okay, great.
So
Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, avocado oil, also a very stable oil that does not break down at high heats.
Okay.
And same thing, you do not get any kind of a taste or aftertaste by using it or cooking with it into your foods. So again, another very stable oil, and again, both of these, if you notice, Coconut and avocado for years has had this, stigma to it that it's a high fat, you have to stay away from it because it's a bad fat.
Right.
It's not a bad fat. It's actually a good fat. So it's very, very high in linoleic acid. There's no hydrogenated fats in it. There's nothing in there that's going to raise cholesterol, and we can certainly get to that topic later.
Yes.
But it's a really good oil for you. So, and it's one of the things actually that Americans are depleted in, believe it or not. What we are supposed to do as a society is have ideally a 2 to 3 to 1 ratio of omega-3, 6s, and 9s. 6s and 9s, 3 to 1 to your omega-3s.
Right.
Unfortunately, in our society today, you're looking at a 20 to 1 ratio because of all the poor nutrition that people are getting on a daily basis. So when you take a look at healthy, stable fats like this that people can introduce into their menu on a daily basis, the rewards are just insurmountable.
And again, it comes down to foods that will fuel you, not just fill you.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely right.
Look, the whole thing here is about, you want to, again, create health from the inside out.
Right.
And unfortunately, we're a society sometimes that look for the quick fixes and the quick things that, we could basically just shove in our mouth that we think we're getting good nutrition with when it's actually doing the exact reverse. It's creating inflammation. It's creating dis-ease within our body.
Absolutely.
And when you take a look at healthy fats, healthy foods, you stay satiated, full for a longer period of time. Your body gets the proper nutrients that it's supposed to be getting on a daily basis. And thus you start to see actually the clock start to turn back. So you start to reverse the aging signs.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, definitely. So we were talking a little bit about coconut water, and I think it's like about 75% of the population here in the United States are chronically dehydrated.
Correct.
And you're supposed to be drinking about half your body weight in ounces per day to stay hydrated, and by the time that you're thirsty, your body's been dehydrated for a while. So why is coconut water, which I actually myself, I consume about a carton at least a day, why is it that it helps with the dehydration process quicker, or is it better than water, or what's your opinion on that?
Well, let's take a look at that. First and foremost, my philosophy has always been 1 quart for every 50 pounds of body weight for people that they should be drinking on a daily basis to remain hydrated. That's number one. Number two, it's also the kind of hydration that you should be getting in. Today, we're inundated with people drinking out of plastic water bottles, and we know that all of these plastic water bottles aren't the greatest in the world. So it's the kind of water that you're drinking too. 2 kinds that I always recommend to clients. It's either reverse osmosis, which is cleansing a lot of, again, the toxins out of the water, or what we like to take a look at is coconut water, which is fabulous, or distilled water. I like to recommend to people as well. Now, you'll get a lot of people in the industry that'll say, well, distilled water, because it's lacking any minerals or anything, is actually going to dehydrate the body and deneutralize the body of its nutrients. Not true. What ends up happening is that distilled water, because it carries a negative charge to it, is actually going to attract all of the toxins in your bloodstream to the water molecules and actually dispel them out of your body. So it's actually good.
So it flushes.
Absolutely. And if you're relying on water to get your nutrients, you're probably that far away from scurvy. So, it's not a good thing just to rely on it for that. Another thing is that when we take a look at the quality of water that we're taking in, we want something, again, that our body is going to be able to be nutritionally sound with when you drink it. Water in and of itself is actually acidic to the body, as crazy as that may sound. However, when you take a lemon, a lime, a cucumber, or something like that, just squeeze a little bit of it in the water, it all of a sudden alkalizes the water and then alkalizes your body. Why is that important? Because when the body is in an alkaline state, it can actually rejuvenate itself. It repairs itself. You get a lot of recuperation when you go to sleep at night. And that's ideally when you want to, again, go into an alkaline state. So drinking coconut water at night before you go to bed is fabulous because it helps, again, repair the body if it's in a diseased state or if you had a particularly stressful day. It's wonderful for that. So those are just, a few of the little tidbits of why coconut water is really just so good for you.
So an acidic body is a sickness magnet, essentially.
It is.
So you want to work with that pH a little bit?
Correct. Now, the other thing is, too, that, there are certain times that you do want the body into an acidic state. For instance, people with allergies. Usually people that are high in allergies, whether it be seasonal allergies or even kind of animal allergies, they will be in more of an alkaline state. If you take that person and move them more towards an acidic state, you'll start to see their allergies disappear. So there are times that you want to put your body back into an acidic state, but not too acidic of a state where it starts to break down. You really ideally want to state of homeostasis,
Right.
balance
Try to keep
within
that
the
balance.
body.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So yeah, so staying hydrated keeps your skin supple on the outside, but it is also really good for the cells inside to keep them supple as well.
Everything. It is so
Everything.
incredibly important. Now, again, that's just the average person. Think about somebody who works out or does any kind of cardiovascular exercise.
Right.
It's even that much more important to put the body back into an alkaline state as well.
Okay.
Because when you are exercising, again, you're creating a lot of free radicals within your body.
Okay.
Again, cells that basically are, scavenging the other cells. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you stay hydrated, especially during exercise and especially soon thereafter. It's very, very important.
And to keep that inflammation, reduced so that the body is in a better state.
Absolutely
Of balance
correct.
and function. Well, that's awesome. Now, let's talk a little bit about the mineral magnesium. It's linked to like sleep disturbances in people and helping to maintain the body's calcium-potassium ratio.
Correct.
Do you want to expound on that too a little bit?
It's really funny that you're asking me about magnesium.
Really?
I literally just finished an interview on RTR, which is my monthly audio magazine,
Yes.
last month with the world authority on magnesium
Oh,
deficiency.
how great. Great timing.
Her name is Dr. Carolyn Dean. She's an MD and a DO. She's written several best-selling books out there about magnesium deficiency in society today.
Okay.
And it's just absolutely mind-boggling, just again, how society is depleted of magnesium and all of the different things, the symptoms that magnesium depletion brings on. You're right. Sleeplessness,
Okay.
ADHD,
Okay.
psoriasis, twitches, muscle twitches, heart arrhythmias, and I can go on and on and on. The list is like 20 or 30 different symptoms deep.
Okay.
Once you start to replenish the body of magnesium, all of a sudden you start to see a lot of these symptoms go away.
Okay.
But now,
Very
it's
good.
the right kind of magnesium, and it's also the right ratios of magnesium that are important.
And how would one find out what their ratio was?
Great question. Well, the first thing you want to do is find out whether or not you're depleted in magnesium.
Okay.
Now, a standard test, a blood test, a SMAC or a CBC is not going to show that. Now, if you ask your doctor to say, look, find out my magnesium deficiency, they may do a magnesium nutrient test, which is not what you want to have done. What you want to have done is a magnesium ion test done, which truly shows the levels of magnesium in your system. Once you figure that out and have that test done, if you're showing any kind of depletions in magnesium, which 99% of us are, then you could start to correct the imbalance.
Okay.
Now, many, many years ago, there was under the philosophy that when you do start to add magnesium into your menu, you need to also have a higher calcium content as well. Calcium 3-to-1 to magnesium. Now, that philosophy was actually created by a French scientist back in the 1940s that was doing some double-blind studies and found that a 3-to-1 ratio of calcium to magnesium was beneficial to people. But again, this was just on a standard population. Today's philosophy now is a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you're taking in 200 milligrams of magnesium, ideally you should be taking in 200 milligrams of calcium.
Okay.
Why? Because it's that much easier for your body to assimilate the two nutrients at once.
Okay.
Remember, we're a delicate balance here, so when you start to add one nutrient, you start to throw off the balance of other nutrients. So that's very important.
So what would be some ways that people could incorporate magnesium into their menu via real foods?
Green leafy vegetables is a wonderful way. Almonds, raw by the way too, and if you want to ask me about
Yes.
that in a second.
Yes.
Okay, why raw? Because in their natural state, any kind of a nut is going to be an unbelievable fat.
Right.
Once you start to roast it, just like we were talking about before, when you take other oils, what you're doing now is you're taking something and you're unstabilizing it.
Okay.
You're taking a good oil and turning it into a bad oil.
Okay.
So ideally, if you can have something in its raw state, and they're not bad tasting, they really do
No,
taste great.
they do.
A raw almond or a raw nut is going to be that much more beneficial to you. If you want to take it a step further, then what you can do is just germinate it. What does that mean? It means you take the nut and you actually soak it for about 4 to 5 hours.
Okay.
By soaking it in water, what you're doing is bringing all the enzymes in that nut alive.
Okay.
Now, you don't want to soak it too long where it starts to grow a tail and it sprouts. So ideally, about 3 or 4 hours, depending on the kind of nut, you germinated it, you take it out of the water, you let it dry. If you want to sprinkle a little sea salt on it, you're fine. And that's usually good for about 3 or 4 days, especially if you stick them in the refrigerator.
Now, you just touched on sea salt. I incorporate a lot of that if I'm cooking or rather than iodized salt. Tell me a little bit about the difference.
Big difference. First of all, sea salt has a tremendous amount of nutrients in it. So especially with the lack of nutrients that we're getting today, it's really important to get the potassium, the magnesium, the 27 other different types of nutrients that are in sea salt. Ionized salt basically is a chemical process of the salt again. And anytime you start to introduce chemicals into processing any of our nutrients or any of our foods, all of a sudden you start to getting a recipe for disaster.
Okay.
So ideally, you always want something in its natural state when you can have it.
Okay, great. Now, touching a little bit on your background in fitness, and I know you were into bodybuilding and triathlons, and share with us a little bit about your history with that, and also a little bit about cayenne pepper. I know it's kind of an interesting segue to it, but I understand that that helps to boost metabolism.
Well, it does. Any time that you introduce any kind of a heating substance into your body, it will boost metabolism. And why? Because the body has to basically, again, create that balance of homeostasis within the body. So you're introducing a hot nutrient, all of a sudden you start to speed the metabolism up to try to cool the body because of that heat that you're adding to the body.
Okay.
All of these things I found out, and as you said, because I have a history of, I used to be a competitive bodybuilder many years ago and won many championships, and then from there I segued into getting into triathlons and competing in duathlons and everything, and then sustained a very bad injury, came back from that injury, which doctors told me I'd never come back from, and then started competing again. And all of this through the introduction of, believe it or not, supplementation and alternative lifestyle, meaning chiropractic, acupuncture, and many other things that I introduced.
Awesome. That's awesome. I always was wondering about that whole cayenne pepper issue.
Yeah, cayenne pepper, again, is fabulous. It's really, really good for introducing into foods.
And you just sprinkle it on your foods?
Sprinkle it on your foods for as much as you can handle.
Okay.
Now, everybody is going to be different. Everybody's going to have a different tolerance level.
Right.
So go according to, again, what your own system can take.
Okay.
Now, you can sprinkle it and actually use the cayenne pepper itself, but they also sell it in capsule form now today, too.
Okay.
Again, be careful when you take it because you will start to get maybe a little acid reflux, or you will feel a little bit of burning in the esophagus if you're taking too much. Again, the body will talk to you. One of the things that I like to teach people about is listening to their body and the symptoms that your body starts to exhibit.
Right.
So if your esophagus starts to burn when you're starting to take the, the capsules, back off a little bit. Maybe you want to cut your dosage in half.
Now compare that to perhaps garlic, odorless garlic tablets or capsules.
Okay. Fabulous. Garlic, again, really strong antioxidant. For years, garlic, I mean, for centuries, garlic has been known to have medicinal purposes from everything, from bringing fevers down, for bringing inflammation down in the system, for bringing down toxins in the system, for taking away poisons in the system. Garlic just has a plethora of great uses to it.
And what about oil of oregano? Along the same lines?
Oil of oregano way over the top. What I always say to people, if you're going to carry a little black bag or have a medicine chest, oil of oregano should be the top in there. It is the highest antibacterial, antiviral agent known to man. So you could take the oil of oregano in tincture form, which means it comes in liquid form. You want to take like a half an eyedropper full and just a little bit of water. You don't want to take it direct. Some people can. I find that it tends to burn the throat a little bit and you walk around smelling like Vito's Pizza after it. But dilute it in just a little bit of water. It's a lot more tolerable.
And potent at the same time.
Absolutely. You're not losing any of the potency there. And if you do that 2 or 3 times a day, if you feel a cold or the flu or something like that coming on, it really does wonders.
Awesome.
And you can actually combine that with the cayenne pepper, which works great. And there's something else I always tell people too to keep in that little black bag is this colloidal silver. Colloidal silver, same thing. One of the highest antibacterial, antiviral agents known to man. Again, the difference between that and the cayenne pepper and the oil of oregano is that the colloidal silver you only want to use for a limited amount of time. What I usually tell people is anywhere between 7 and 10 days. It has absolutely no taste to it whatsoever. It's like you're taking a tablespoon of water. But that, coupled with the oil of oregano, coupled with the cayenne, is like 1 and 1 and 1 equals 10. Wonderful. They all have a synergistic effect on each other. And without a doubt, anybody that I've ever recommended it to that was coming down with a flu, a cold, or anything else, start taking that literally within 48 to 72 hours. It knocks it out of their system completely.
Awesome. We have it on our wellness shelf at home.
There you go.
Sure.
It's
Definitely.
great.
Okay, let's take a little bit of a shift to sweeteners.
Okay.
I have a lot of patients that, will come in and on an initial exam, for example, and they'll have, certain symptoms, and I ask, are you consuming any diet beverages? And sure enough, the bell goes off. Yes, yes, yes. I drink at least 1 diet beverage a day, in addition to putting, sweet and low in my coffee, half a teaspoon every day. And we know that NutraSweet equals Splenda, those are neurotoxins to the body. What can you kind of share with everyone about your knowledge on sweeteners and alternatives that are available?
Great story about aspartame if you want to hear
Yes.
it. Okay, aspartame, it took 13 years to get approved with the FDA. Why did it take 13 years? Because every single year that it went before the FDA, they kept continuing to do tests on it, and it kept causing cancer in all of the animals and all of the laboratory tests that they were doing on aspartame.
Okay.
But Monsanto, the company that created aspartame, okay, invested millions of dollars in R&D, research and development, for this sweetener, okay? So they figured they got to get it passed somehow. So finally they went to somebody that had some pretty high up political connections and said, look, if you can contact your friends in the FDA and possibly get this pushed through for us and get it approved, what we will do is we'll promise you a position in this company, a pharmaceutical company called Cereal, that we're purchasing at a later date. Well, the gentleman got it past the FDA and it was approved. And at the time, it was only approved for 10 different things, not the 70 some odd things that it's being used in today on shelves. Who was that gentleman back then? Take a guess, come on.
Go ahead.
Actually, he was a very high up government official back then,
Okay.
who again was head of our whole military forces.
Okay.
And he was promised this position, president position,
Okay.
back then for Cereal, and it was John Ashcroft. Which was really quite amazing because, again, they would have never gotten this passed through the FDA had this not been going through these different types of political connections. Yeah, so it's pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing, but obviously, you know, people should stay away from those. Those are actually poisons to the body and create
Neurotoxins,
a lot
what
of
happens, what a lot of people don't realize
issues.
is that once it's heated above 89 degrees, it
Yeah.
turns to formaldehyde in your body.
Right.
So it is a neurotoxin. So yes, and there are plenty of great alternatives out there in
Right.
the world today. One of them, stevia,
Yes.
coming from a plant. Truvia, also another one coming from a plant. And what I always tell people too is if you really need to use a sweetener, just use plain old sugar.
Like raw organic
Absolutely,
sugar
it's
would be
still
a
fine.
better choice. Yep.
Now again, sugar also goes through a chemical process. So nothing is natural. When they say natural, it still goes through a chemical process
Right.
from the time it goes from sugar cane to table sugar on your table, whether it be raw, organic, or not.
Right.
So if you can, again, Truvia is always a better choice, stevia a better choice, and that should definitely satisfy your urge for some type of a sweetener.
Okay.
Even honey or agave nectar.
Right.
And there was a big controversy with agave nectar there for a
Yes.
while because basically it was a Wild Wild West show. People were basically saying that it was raw, it was organic, and it wasn't.
Right.
But now, since then, the government has actually stepped in and actually policed it a little bit better. So that's the good news about it.
Excellent. So let's kind of also lead into detoxes and cleanses. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I like to touch upon it a little bit and give us your opinion on them. There's different types of detoxes and different cleanses for different organs.
Correct. Well, there's a big debate about that today,
Okay.
too. And, you know, since the Doctor's Show has come out, since
Okay.
Dr. Oz has come out,
Yeah.
my business has gone up exponentially. And why is that? Because I will debate these people all day long that continue to say that you don't need to detox, that the body was born and built so that it has all these wonderful systems in place to detox your body on your own, your liver, your kidneys. Well, yeah, that's true if we lived in a perfect world where we weren't getting inundated with thousands of different chemicals on a daily basis. The body wasn't meant to get bombarded with this many chemicals on a daily basis.
Right.
So I do recommend detoxing, and I do recommend a colon cleanse, and I do recommend juice fasting, because all of these subtle little things that you can do for your body are constantly a tune-up for your body on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis, whatever you decide to do. And it's important to do it because, again, the body becomes overwhelmed with these toxins. So on a daily basis, unbeknownst to you, even us just sitting here on these chairs, you know, it's off-gassing certain different types of chemicals that we're breathing and taking in.
Right.
Carpeting on the floor, the padding underneath the carpeting, the paint on the walls, the varnish on the floors, the
Right.
foods that we're eating,
Right.
everything. We're just getting bombarded daily.
Right.
So the body becomes overwhelmed. You know, people keep asking, you know, why this big influx of cancers today in society? Look, it's not rocket science. It's because of all these different chemicals, 20,000 new chemicals a year, by the way, that are introduced into our environment. So what do you think is going to happen? The body is going to break down. By detoxing the body, and what I usually suggest is do something very mild at first. Because if you take somebody who's never gone through any kind of a detox before in their life, and all of a sudden do a liver gallbladder detox on them, you might put the person in the hospital. Because all of a sudden now there's a flood of toxins being released into the person's bloodstream.
Right.
Ideally, something just nice and slow and moderate.
And gentle to start off with.
2-day juice fast maybe, 3-day juice fast if the body can handle it. Then pay attention to your body as you're going through the fast.
Right.
Are you breaking out? Headaches, nausea, diarrhea. Those are all signs that the body was really, really toxic.
Right.
I've had some clients that go through it and go, I didn't experience anything. I felt great. Well, that's
right.
wonderful.
Good.
Now we could take you to another step.
Okay.
Colon cleanse maybe after that
Okay.
to just kind of get rid of all of the different toxins in the colon.
Okay.
The colon has lots of little nooks and crannies in here,
Right,
and
right.
okay, and it accumulates a ton of things over the years, including supplements sometimes, bad supplements that don't break down in the body.
Right.
So ideally, you want to try and get rid of that out of the body.
Absolutely.
Once again, taking a look at how the body responds to it. If the body is able to get through it without any kind of really severe side effects, take it to another level. You might be ready for a liver gallbladder flush. And again, you know, the liver, it's kind of like the air conditioning filter on your unit at home. You know, you change that, you know, every quarter, every couple of months. Well, why aren't you taking care of your body the same exact way? So you really do need to tend to these things.
Awesome. Now, there's a couple of terms that are out there. Vegan seems to be very popular. Vegetarian, pescatarians. Can you expound a little bit upon their definitions and
Sure.
what they incorporate, just to kind of give our audience a clear understanding of what they mean?
Well, when you start to take a look at vegetarianism, okay, a lot of people get into that. Some people, okay, they were born to strictly, again, nothing that had a mother or a father is the way that they look at it.
Okay.
So basically, it's all plant life, and that's it. They're not going to go for any kind of dairy, cheese, or anything. Okay, when you start to look at a vegan, people start to look at introducing maybe a little bit of dairy into their menu as well. When you start to take a look at a pescatarian, people again start to maybe introduce fish or something into their menu as well. So you want to take a look again, what's right for you is what I say to everybody. We're all biochemically different. What works for you may not work for me. So there are some people in this world that were meant to be mixed carnivores, some people that were meant to be raw foodists, meaning nothing is to be cooked. Now, as crazy as that may sound, there's really a tremendous amount of selection out there when you do get into raw food. Or some people were meant to be vegetarians, let's say, and not do any kind of meat. So again, it's really just kind of experimenting with it, or going to somebody with knowledge, a good healthcare practitioner or nutritionist that does this type of selection with you to figure out, again, what works best for you.
Now, share with us a little bit about paleo menus, paleo diets.
Well, paleo diets, again, dates back to where it's basically more of a raw foodist diet. Basically, you're not heating any of the food above 98 degrees, so that basically you're keeping all of the nutrients intact within the food. Again, as I spoke earlier in the show, when you start to heat certain oils then will start to go rancid.
Right.
Same thing in certain foods. You start to kill off certain nutrients in foods when you start to heat them above a certain amount of degrees. So ideally, you want to keep them in their natural state so that the body, again, can better absorb them and you can take in all those dense nutrients. That's ideally what you want to do, or these people do that tend to follow that kind of lifestyle.
Okay. Well, we've covered a lot of information, but before we go, I'd like you to share with everyone a little bit about RTR, your company that offers guidance and support through nutrition.
Well, you know, it's really funny. I started RTR, which is Results Through Research, about 11 years ago.
Okay.
And I started it because there was so much misinformation out there. People were getting inundated with information from every place. And it was also because people had sponsors. You know, these other companies that were giving the information had this certain food company or that pharmaceutical company that were sponsoring them. I started it and I said, I'm not going to have any sponsors. I'm not going to have any advertisers. I have a team of 3 researchers that go through every medical periodical in the United States, from the New England Journal of Medicine right on down. We take a look at any kind of studies that you hear about on the news or read in the newspaper. We peel back the onion. We see who were the people in the studies, why were they flawed, why were they not flawed, who were the people that were funding the studies, and we basically bring people a 60-minute audio CD on a monthly basis with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That covers everything from nutrition to supplementation to food to exercise.
And how could someone reach you with regards to that?
Real easy. We have a website called www.results-research.com, or they can go to our 800 number, which is 866-GET-FIT, G-E-T-F-I-T-T.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Wonderful. Well, Doug, thank you so very much for being here today to share this amazing information with our audience. I thank you so much for joining us today here at Vibrant Living. Remember, it's your life. Live a vibrant life. Thank you.